Um, we've had a lot of terrific speakers talking about communicating with audiences, engaging with different communities online. I'm going to break that down to how you would do that with video. That's my world. You know, I've been slinging a camera for 25 years, so I live, eat, breathe video. Toby, you said that those who tell the stories rather, will shape our lives. I'm going to qualify that a teensy bit. I'm going to say that those who tell the stories well, in an engaging fashion, those are the people who are going to shape our lives, because there's a lot of stories out there, aren't there? And some of them are told, you know, better than others. The nugget that I want to leave you with today, what I want to break down the basic elements of this is video is the most powerful medium out there for communicating emotion and passion and ideas. It's also complex and has a lot of moving parts technically, structurally. Because of that, there's a lot of room for error and failure to execute. So if you're a professional communicator, or you want to do this just for fun, you really need to work hard at video to get it done right. You have to be self-critical. And at the end of the day, if you're doing this professionally, you have to examine whether your endeavors in creating video and publishing video are worthwhile. If you're hitting the mark, if you're creating intent, making people feel something, making me laugh, making me cry. So if you're kind of new to video, I want to hopefully give you some ideas to help you make your work a little better. To that end, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background, what I've seen as major shifts in how video is created and distributed over the years, the current landscape of web video, and dive into some sort of practical, as best I can within the allotted time, you know, creating video. I have been a cameraman for NBC News. I've been staffed there since 1996. I've been doing video for nearly 25 years. My narrative style of storytelling is documentary, fact-oriented. I'm less comfortable with, you know, things like comedy or dramatic types of videos, which is a very valid, you know, kinds of videos that are being made on the web these days. Somewhere along the line, I did have this kind of social web epiphany. And I discovered that people were having conversations online. And I'd been sort of, typical old media had been sort of recalcitrant and resistant to, oh, blogging, what the heck is that? But at one point, I remember buying an iPod and discovering what to put on there. And I came across a website for the Portable Media Expo. And I discovered that there were all these people out there creating audio and video content on the web. And I thought, wow, what the heck is this? And I became very excited about that. And I started my own blog, and I joined Twitter in 2006. And I also discovered in that journey that there were threats and opportunities because of this new media. The revenue and attention pie are only so big, right? And it was being divvied up. And I worked in an entrenched traditional media organization. And incidentally, I want to say that I have the best job in the world. I work for a great organization. NBC News has the most courageous, hardworking, talented, dedicated people out there who are sometimes on the front lines of very, very dangerous situations right now as we speak, so that people can go home and find out what's going on in the world. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm proud to be working where I do. But along the way, you know, I was looking at this world of new media and thinking about how it was going to impact my world. And so I was at once very excited, yet at the same time sort of threatened by all of this stuff. I cannot read my mind. I'm also using a mind map. So, you know, because the bean counters in traditional media saw people making free content. They thought, wow, how can we get in on this action? But then I also saw people having early success in creating video for the web, and people were becoming micro media moguls. I became sort of an intrapreneur where I worked, and without asking permission, but rather forgiveness, I began to, like you do, I started creating my own little video blogs. I took a small camera with on a trip with the Secretary of Defense around the world, and I just started shooting behind the scenes stuff. And I called up our web people, and I said, hey, I'm putting together this thing. And they said, yeah, we'd love it. So I put it together. We got it on the web, got a lot of great response, and I emailed CC Chapman. Who knows? Raise your hand if you know CC Chapman. I emailed him, because in this discovery of social media and the web, I came across his blog, his podcast, and I said, hi, Mr. Chapman, I'm Jim Long, I'm a cameraman for NBC News. And I felt very hat in my hand with these folks, because these were like new media superstars in my eyes. Would you mind looking at my video blog, please, sir? And he kind of responded, yeah, okay, I'll take a look. And because he was a serious new media guy, and I was like, back then it was very pitchfork and torches, against old media. We were the bad people. And he looked at it and he's like, dude, this is great, man. They should be doing more of this stuff. And I put it out on Twitter, and it got some good response. So that was sort of my entry into this. And I discovered that there were so many more people doing this great video on the web. In 2007, I decided I was going to venture into this. And I started my own sort of niche market Facebook/video content site with a business partner. It was going to be sort of DIY craft stuff, craftynation.com. I thought, because hey, I'm a professional cameraman, I can do this video stuff. I thought I was going to be wildly successful, because my stuff was it was a little better than what I was seeing on the web, and I know how to use external mics and things like that. The truth of the matter is, these people who were creating web video were working very, very hard. And that's one of the things about video, is that it takes a lot of time to produce it, and produce it well, and produce it on a consistent basis. So my own hubris in thinking that I'm a professional cameraman did not keep me aloft in this endeavor. So that, we had to set that project aside. But, I want to talk a little bit now about sort of the arc of the shifts that brought us from traditional media to an era where the tools are ubiquitous and in the palm of your hand and simple and easy to use. Back in the day, we had towers and transmitters, and cameras actually had tubes in them. My first camera was a tube camera that if I ran with it, if I was chasing a bad person at a courthouse, the tubes would go out of alignment, so there would be shadows of a red and green person on either side. It was just this crazy technology, and you had to sit down with the camera and get little screwdrivers out and fix it, and all this heavy, heavy, big equipment. Barriers to entry were huge. This gear is so expensive. To be a publisher of video, you needed a tower, a transmitter, a license, and millions and millions of dollars. Cable came along. Cable access came along. People were allowed to go into TV studios and create their own content, so you could become a video producer. You move on to the web. Now you can be a micromedia mogul. You can publish your own content. So you've gone from this arc of nobody's going to get into TV unless you're a gazillionaire to everybody is a TV station. So that's kind of where we are now. Now we can publish, and that's pretty exciting. So the early days of web video, you had the pitchfork and torch revolution. People were sick of watching stale TV presenters on TV, and they started making their own stuff. And it was really, really cool, but the tools were very clunky, and it was difficult to upload this stuff. But you had, if you Google VloggerCon, you will come across some of the most amazing video content creators, and they're the ones who have sort of informed us about how to create video on the web now, how to use that medium to be authentic, and it's different from television, how to be authentic on the web, how to engage people kind of one-to-one through the screen on the web. And I admire them a great deal because they were really the pioneers of this stuff. And where we are today, where we can do this on our own, it's because of those folks. They inspired us, and they really did great things. And some of them, I think of Zay Frank. He's gone on to become the executive producer of video at BuzzFeed. Zadi Diaz, she was in the Jet Set Show and Epic Foo. She's now the executive producer for YouTube Nation. So these people have moved from enthusiastic hobbyists to big-time operators in the world of web video. So it's exciting, and I think of it very wistfully and nostalgically when I look back at this stuff. But a lot of you, you want to use this stuff for your own engagement, right? How many of you have tried to use video to engage with audiences? And how do you measure the success of these endeavors?
Actions.
I'm sorry? Actions, right. So what kind of calls to action? You're trying to create intent. So how do you measure that specifically?
Well, in opens, in plays, but then in the metric that we're trying to drive. So we're trying to drive sales, and we're showing our videos to salespeople, then we track sales.
Right.
Is sales going up? Yes.
Right. What about some other folks? How are you tracking the success of what you're trying to communicate with video? Or are you just kind of putting video out there and rolling the dice and hoping it works?
Using tools like Green 6 and Sysmos to see what people are talking about, to share voice around the topic and topic of interest and the pain points or interests or confusions they may have, and then using that to influence how they create.
What I've discovered is that there's a lot of folks in content marketing who tell you, yeah, you have to do video. Video is the next big thing. Get out there and make some video, but there's really no guide to how to do it right. People just turn their cameras around or they look down at their laptops, and it's kind of hit or miss. And folks go on YouTube and use it as a search engine, and they're looking for information. If I'm looking for information, something on YouTube, I will look at sort of the thumbnail image, and you can sort of tell, is it lit well? If it's not, I'm just going to move on. And then if you start to play it and you can't hear them, just fundamental basic things like using an external mic, that stuff is really kind of given short shrift. So those are some of the complexities that people don't think about when they're told you got to do. Yes?
So on Instagram now they have, like, BBC News has these little short micro videos. I think that's fascinating. I think it is fantastic because it's just sort of like a preview of what's going on.
Right.
But you can pack so much information into just those 6 seconds.
But at some point in that video, you need to know where to go next.
Exactly.
So, I mean.
But it's for the site. It's for BBC News.
Right.
So you're like, oh wow, BBC News, has this little snippet. I want to go to their site and see more. So.
And the ease in which you can take a phone and use Vine or Instagram and create a fast video, that's neat. But Vine and Instagram also force you to think about editing. Yeah. Editing is an art. Editing is, why did you use this shot against that shot? Audio. Getting audio into a smartphone is a tricky endeavor. You can get professional audio into a smartphone, but you have to use specialized connectors. They are worth the investment.
Yeah, I just made
audio
I
is.
just made a little video.
Oh. Audio is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of video. There's nothing that really makes me turn away from a video quicker than you're not wearing a microphone and I can't hear you. That drives me insane. So invest in some audio equipment, buy some external mics. Don't necessarily get a mic designed for podcasting like those snowballs or they're fine, but if you buy an XLR to USB cable, and write those letters down, XLR to USB, you can purchase a purpose-built professional microphone at a reasonable cost from like the Guitar Center in Rockville or B&H Photo. But that cable gives you flexibility. You could hire a sound person, and they can plug in their gear to your cable. If you get a connector for your smartphone, and we do these web capsules with our reporters, and it's a lot easier to do it with my iPhone because it's a web thing than to take the big adult camera, ship the files, or ship a tape back with a courier or something like that. I can just say, Andrea, go, and hit my little Latticu FTP uploader device, and boom, it's back in the system like that. But the audio is perfectly clear. Audio is a huge, huge part of this. So yeah, spend some money on some good connections, like for your iPhone, and a USB to XLR. A lot of videos are done with laptops. You record a video with a laptop. You might do a WebEx with a laptop. You might now do a job interview with a laptop. There are job interview platforms that are like Skype, but it's a specific brand for job interviews. I don't want to look up at your nose. A window is not the background. The window is the light source. Pick a background that's nice and zen and simple. Yeah, again, take the laptop, put it on a stack of books. It's more flattering if you're looking a little bit up at your webcam than if you're looking down at it. So those are just some basic considerations. I had a whole lot of other things that I wanted to bring up. How am I doing on time, Jeff?
You're good.
Before I get to, okay, good. So essentially with video, there are, like many things, like many endeavors, there are 3 ways to do video. You can do it well, you can do it fast, you can do it cheap. And you can, with video, like many other things, you can pick 2 of those at any one given time. So video, if you endeavor to do this, it's okay if you try it and you don't do well, and you decide, that's not for me. It's better to communicate well with other medium that you're accustomed to and you can do well, rather than struggling with video. Jeff, I'm going to call you out. Okay. I remember you posted, at some point, you had been experimenting with video.
Right,
and at some point, yeah, right. And you posted about that.
Yeah.
And why was that? Why did you experience this difficulty? What was it specifically?
Well, I actually went and took an AFI class, thinking that would be enough. And what I learned was that videography is extremely difficult. And it's difficult in several ways. I would consider myself to be a writer, but when you're a producer and you're writing in that sense, you have to become, it's almost like eye copy, except for it has to be interesting. And it has to be very compelling.
And you have to write how you speak. That's another thing.
That's right.
That's a whole
so
different talk.
Different style of writing. You have to be a fantastic editor. Because the reality is that you have like a minute, at most a minute and a half, and that was back in like 2008, 2009, now even less.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to cut very quickly and do so that it doesn't look disruptive. It has to be fluid.
Right.
So that was very difficult for me. And then on top of it, the whole audio production and the ability to get that into place so it sounded right, I was just incapable of doing it.
Right. I did see some rule breakers in some of your videos, but that's the thing. You should have given me a call. I would have helped you out. Robert Scoble likes long videos, and you know what? A video can be as long as people are interested in what you're saying or doing. I don't know that there's any real set time for how long a web video should be. As long as it is useful and informative and engaging, it can be as long as you would like. But you do have to get to the heart of the matter quickly, and you have to keep focused, and you have to keep people engaged. And Jill, I'm going to call you out now, because you are phenomenal, and you are very natural. When you're on camera, no, I mean that. You're very, no, you're very engaging on camera, and there are some people who have it, and there are some people who don't, and that's okay. So if you are in an organization or a company, maybe it's not the CEO who should be the person doing the on-camera stuff. Maybe you are finding some brand champions who are better on camera. I am scared to death when I'm in a situation like this. But I could turn a camera around and you know, get it together kind of fast.